All right, let's get to the big story. NTV did an investigative piece a few days ago, and the focus was on Mabira Forest. On the outside, everything looks okay, but when you get on the inside, you realize that slowly but surely this forest is being depleted. There are folks therein cutting down trees almost on a daily basis to make charcoal and do lots of other things. So, question, why is this going on unabated? What are the issues? The custodians of this forest and several others, National Forestry Authority, will raise a couple of issues and say we lack funding, we lack staffing. Who then should be responsible? Because we need this and several other forests. Let me get to my guests. We have with us Juliet Mubi. Do you pronounce your name as Mubi? Mubi. All right. Juliet is the Public Relations Supervisor for National Forestry Authority. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to our viewers.
We're also joined by Leo Tuino Muhanji. He's Coordinator Planning from the National Forestry Authority. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much.
We are also joined by the Honorable Semakula Rutamaguzi. He's MP Nakaseke South, but with specificity this morning, he belongs to the Natural Resources Committee of Parliament. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning, viewers of NTV.
Juliet, let me start with you. Our forests are being depleted. This is a public secret, and not just Mabira, but several others. We perhaps on another day will talk about wetlands, but for now, let's focus on the forests. And this is meant to be under your watch, or so I thought. Why is it happening and continuously going on unabated?
Thank you, Simon.
Joel.
It is true there are some cases of illegalities. However, as an authority, we are not seated. We are working. We have several cases where we've reported these illegalities in court. But we are also doing other things. We are also doing boundary opening to ensure that the forest estate that we are managing is well protected. Whenever we find cases of illegalities in the forest, we arrest and take people to police, and they are apprehended according to the law. However, the challenge is the lawlessness of the people is too high, and the demand. For example, Mabira. Mabira is a forest that sits in a highly populated area. We have towns, Jinja, we have Kayunga, we have Mukono, we have Kampala, who have high demands of forest products. So even when we have security, enough security on the ground, people will come in and steal, cut down the trees. But we are working, we are working with UPDF, we are working with the environmental police to ensure that the forest is protected. Do
you feel you're doing enough? Because this story that we did, it was just a sample of a lot more than that happens. You know, people in a very wanted manner keep raiding these forests and do whatever it is that they want, in broad daylight, by the way. Sometimes they do it in the night, but many times during the day. And so when you say you are doing everything you can, I'm thinking the evidence on ground doesn't show so.
Maybe what I want to let the public know is encroachment is in different forms. Encroachment in Mabira could be the illegal timber cutting and also encroachment of settlements. But I can confirm in Mabira we don't have encroachment of settlements. The settlements that were shown on TV are what we call enclaves. Enclaves is private milo land inside Mabira. In Mabira we have 29 enclaves. So even when you see
the small villages.
Small villages with banana plantations, sugarcane plantations inside Mabira, we have 29 of them. So we can confirm that there are no settlements in Mabira, but there are cases of illegal timber cutting.
Leo, your docket is the planning one, and I would like to think that as you plan for all the different activities as National Forestry Authority, top of your agenda should be planning on how to outwit the fellows that encroach on the forests, the fellows that cut down trees illegally. She talks about the 29 enclaves, those that are legally staying therein. But now you see many of these ones that are legally settled there are the ones that are illegally cutting down trees. But many times actually it might not even be the locals of those 29 enclaves. You know, other folks will come in. After all, there are people that live here within. If somebody finds me, I say I belong to this village or that kind of thing. What do you have in your planning docket for this? Because when it keeps happening, we are thinking, is the issue lack of proper planning on how to deal with this aspect? But I'm glad there's a whole planning docket which you had.
What is important to note now is that we are talking about forest protection. And the forest protection in this country, like you know, the development plans forestry is a primary growth sector. But over and over, as government and everybody, we need to prioritize funding of the forestry subsector so that we are able to move our country to the middle income status that we talk about. Coming to Mabira specifically, the management approach is the zonation. We have the production zones, and that is where, like Julie said, we have the communities around this place. And these communities interact with Mabira. And that's why we planned that the 70% of the total forest estate are involved in collaboration with NFA to properly manage this forest. And as I can tell you, we have gone a step ahead in strengthening partnerships with these communities. Like when you move to the Waswa area, we have the Griffin campsite, and the communities are involved in community ecotourism, which brings income to the communities. We have engaged them also into tree planting. Remember, Mabira has, the structure of Mabira has the 10 forest stations, and all these forest stations have the staff. But in one of the stations, like at Nandaje, we have the indigenous tree nursery, and that is focusing on producing indigenous seedlings for restoration of the formerly degraded areas. And as I can tell you, we have restored, together with the partnerships with the World Bank and the ministry, the 1,500 hectares of the eastern part where we have the dominant paper mulberry, which has helped to keep the forest cover. When we look at what came out, people need to appreciate that forests are supposed to interact with these communities. We should be asking ourselves, are illegalities there? Yes.
What's being done about those illegalities?
Are they under control? Yes.
Is that true when you say yes? Because what we see on ground does not seem to say yes.
The point I'm saying, the sampling locations can tell you that we need to go on ground and jointly verify. I want to appreciate that everybody has a role. And you people, the media, you have been the first estate, like you have noted. And when this comes up, for us we are happy, but what we are saying is on the other side of the coin, the National Forest Authority has done a lot to restore this forest. Look at the history of this forest, for example, Joel. This forest, Mabira, in the 80s was full of houses and banana plantations. Today, there is no single settlement within the boundaries of the forest reserve. The enclaves are the meadowlands which are settled on, and they are not part of Mabira. And internally what we need to appreciate is that from the community to the local leadership and to the national leadership, everybody has a role, and we need to work together and ensure that we protect this important forest, which is the center of developing this country.
All right, let me bring in the Honorable Utamaguzi. NFA is saying that they have done a great job to try and restore this forest. Do you believe that? You are, I don't know, I'd like to call you in a way supervisors. You also, you know, debate over the budget for these people as the Natural Resources Committee.
Yeah, but to correct you a bit, I belong to Government Assurances Committee. First of all, I want to register my appreciation to NTV for that big story. In fact, it should have been called a bigger story of forests. We are in Parliament with some members, and then we take recognition. We took recognition of what you did. If we are to protect these forests, we need to protect them as a team. We need to work as a team, not on an individual basis or organizational basis. Well, it isn't only about Mabira. Almost all forests in Uganda are being depleted. And their culprits, we know them. Some of these people are being protected by politicians. They continue. There are many forests along Mitiana Road, Bujuko. When you come to our areas of Ruel, there is even a very big forest which was given to investors. These people decided to give our forests for investors such that they can destroy the environment in the interest of the investors. So unless we sit down as a country, not as organizations, I know these people of NFA have also done a very big deal of letting these forests to be depleted. They are not almost seen anywhere. They claim that they are not being funded. Well, they should come to Parliament and present their claim. If you don't have sufficient funding, then we can find a way how we can assist you. But I tell you, this issue isn't only about Mabila. You look at the whole environment, you wonder, where is NEMA? You put up these authorities, but they are not working. In fact, maybe they put them just to employ their friends and relatives, but not to do some work for this country. You even hear people providing solutions how they can sand mine. You know, this country has a very big problem. We have educated people, but the way they are running this country, it's as if this country will end with us, this generation. So unless we sit down as a team, not only as politicians, in specifics, members of Parliament, we can sit with the whole society and educate them. For example, when I was in my primary school, they used to teach us, right from primary one, the importances of trees, that rain comes from trees. But today you find very mature people cutting them continuously as if rain will come from stones, and the following day you hear them crying for that we're experiencing drought, you know, such and such a month. You know, Uganda is highly blessed. Recently I was in Abu Dhabi, and a Mwarabu asked me, really, what happens? How do you feel when you're in a country like Uganda? I was there in the 80s, and it used to rain almost every month. But today we can even take 2 months without seeing rainfall. And people are seated in offices. Those who can go to the ground, they are fearing because of politics that is being used. You find people riding. They use motorcycles in forests, cutting them. And some are being guarded with guns. So what should we do? We need to sit down as a community and see what we can do. What you've done as NTV is just to highlight the biggest problems you're facing, and if you continue, maybe we'll find a solution. But if we can sit down and we keep on blaming one another, we won't find a solution.
Juliet, the allegations of the MP are not new, and there have been several others. And folks feel NFA, as opposed to, you know, being the good custodians of these forests, protecting them, many times you are part of the problem. At least you have been seen as that. You are giving away forests to investors in a very wanton manner. It talks about people cutting down trees, and there seem to be the untouchables. And when they appear that way, we think, wait a minute, did we send a hyena to watch over meat that they are failing to do their job? Sorry to use that metaphor, but hopefully it does make sense. That you, the custodians, are, some people have said you're sleeping on the job, or could it be you're having, I don't know what challenges that you are, because we seem to be seeing a lot of the bad as opposed to the good.
Thank you. The allegation on giving forest to investors, I can confirm that the 506 Central Forest Reserves that were given to NFA in 2004, none of them has been degazetted. And I want to make it clear that the work of degazettement, it's not NFA. It is done by Parliament. It's not
in
NFA.
conjunction with you. You guys give them advice that
For
this
us,
one we can give away and so.
Advice, and there is no Central Forest Reserve that has been degazetted since 2004. When NFA was established.
Have they been encroached on? Because yes, on paper, it probably might show that these are still gazetted. But on ground, have there been no encroachments?
I can't, there are some cases of encroachment in some forest reserves, which we are working towards fighting or controlling the encroachment. Encroachment is in form of, like I had said earlier, encroachment for agriculture. Some people do encroach on forest reserves and cultivate, but we come and sensitize we sensitize the communities, especially those adjacent to Central Forest Reserves. We have a program called Collaborative Forestry Management, where we work with communities adjacent to Central Forest Reserves. We allow them utilize the forest without destroying it. They can do beehive keeping, they can do mushroom keeping, but managing the forest sustainably. So the degazettement, no, we do not work to any investor to give away forests.
Leo, I would like to think that you, the technical people, probably should help, especially the communities, you know, the communities that are living in these enclaves, the 29, in Mabira as an example. There's several other forests that have a similar happening. Do you give them any kind of advice and help? Because they're living in these places, and you know, for many a person, the land on which they live is their entire livelihood. So they will cultivate on that land, they will live on that land, feed on it, etc., etc. And so when they are in these communities, they imagine they can do whatever it is they want with their environ, which is the forest. Cut down trees, make charcoal, you know, do agriculture, and of course that means clearing some of the trees to have land for agriculture. When and how do you come in?
What I want to confirm is that actually the forest adjacent communities do not really destroy forests. The people who destroy forests are these people who come from far. And these people who you think are the real understanding people, the rich.
That's why we expect you guys to curb them down, but you're not doing so.
The focus as NFA has been on creating alternatives. And as a country, I think to be able to sustain the management of forests, we need to address the issue of alternatives, the issue of energy, alternative energy sources. For example, in this Mabira, we have embarked on the energy saving stoves. Of course, like the MP is saying, we need to really go into lobbying so that as a country, we focus on what is sustainable. Like we have generation of power. When you protect a natural forest, it creates the heart for running the turbines for industrialization. But when this power comes, we need to make it cheap and affordable to the people so that we don't again cut these forests. Having said that, I want to indicate that the other focus, the strategy of relieving pressure from these natural forests, these natural ecosystems, has been focusing on the plantations development. These are commercial tree planting. And as I said, the National Forest Authority has the National Tree Seed Center. And we have 12 regional nurseries in the whole country where we are able to supply seedlings for tree planting. I'm happy to note that the government is giving us some minimal funding for raising community seedlings. And like I said, we are focusing on 30 million seedlings. And then what the Honorable said, plantations development, we have zoned these forests for plantations development. And we have licensed tree planting on Central Forest Reserves. We have a total of 70,000 hectares planted with fast-growing species to relieve pressure on the natural forest. So that is what he says we have given to investors. But that is the licensing function of the NFA, and I'm sure the public is aware that through the licensing process, the public-private partnerships need to be strengthened. Like, of course, the focus is to ensure that we do a compensation to the forest loss. We are now at 7% of the commercial tree planting. We are focusing at putting it to 12% within our plantation development strategy so that we try to balance the demands for supplying products and services to Ugandans.
Honorable, perhaps also from the citizenry, the vigilance did go away. The pictures that we're looking at, this is back in 2007, April, when there was an uproar, when there were threats to give away a section of Mabira forest, and there was a general concern within the population. Everybody decided, no, we must be a part of this. We don't see that much of that anymore. The media will highlight some of these issues, but there's no general concern like there was back in the day about issues such as this. What happened along the way, you think?
Yeah, it all emanates from the kind of leadership we have as a country.
And you're one of the leaders.
I'm one of the leaders. But leadership is from different levels. For example, the LC1 chairperson is supposed to know what is happening in his surroundings. I cannot go and protect Mabira from Parliament. And there are these entities which were put up by government authorities, like for example, the NFA and the NEMA, they should be seen on the ground doing their work. this kind of lamentation all the time that they don't have sufficient funding, then why can't government scrap them from its entities? If they don't have funding, what are they there for? I think they are established to see that they protect what they are supposed to protect. So for me, as a legislator, I know a lot has to be done, but shouldn't be only in terms of funding. We need to find a way, we local people, how to sensitize the population. For example, the LC1 chairpersons should go on sensitizing those who are cutting trees. I have an example. There are some people in the villages which are surrounding these forests. They claim that they cut such trees or forests to get money for survival. But then you wonder, is cutting trees the only option of getting money? That should be the work of government to sensitize these people. And secondly, government should try to lower the prices of electricity. Some people do cut forests to get charcoal, such that it can be transported to towns. These people in towns want to buy charcoal because it is relatively cheaper compared to electricity. So if government can reduce prices of electricity, maybe people can also reduce the demand of charcoal. But however, as a member of parliament, I think we have a lot of work to do, and this work shouldn't only be stopped in parliament. Our committees, oversight committees, and all different committees have roles they can play in terms of protecting forests. We can start visiting. We can go on site and see what's really happening.
So you realize that as Parliament, you two have a role, and perhaps you've not played it well enough, because you are meant to supervise, you pass the budgets for these different departments of government,
yeah,
and
very
so on.
True. And
you are meant to play the oversight role. So if they're not doing their job,
yeah,
I actually should be putting the head of the supervisor on the chopping block. In this case, you guys are being the supervisors, no, so are you sleeping on job too?
As I told you earlier, that we need to work as a team. With Parliament, we need to coordinate with this NFA, the NEMA, and other stakeholders, such that we can find a lasting solution. Just these stories you give out to just highlight of what is happening in all forests in the country. It's not only Mabida. So when we sit down and we devise how we can protect them, maybe through sensitization. For example, a government can buy a program on NTV. Very many people watch NTV, for example, not only here in Uganda, but even outside. Recently, I was in Kinshasa. I was watching NTV news from Kinshasa. So if you buy a program on NTV, maybe one program can be in local languages, which can easily be understood by ordinary citizens. Then the other one can be in English. We can start sensitizing these people slowly by slowly. Maybe time will come and they will come to understand, like they are started on these belts. You know, they used to teach adults that it is not good to drive a vehicle when you have not put on the belt. Some of them had started learning, but now the government stopped it. So it is our obligation as members of parliament, you people from NFA, you during the budgeting time, you come to parliament, don't sit in your offices, come and bring your budgets and see how we can go about it instead of lamenting all the time. I know money will never be enough, but when you come and you present your case, we will find a way how we can assist you, because these forests don't belong to NFA as an entity. They belong to all Ugandans. And as I told you earlier on, that during some time back, when I was in primary, pupils could be taught that rain comes from trees. I grew up knowing that forests are very important if I'm to get food, because there's no way we can grow food when it's not raining. If I'm to get food, I'm supposed to protect these forests such that we can get rain. But today you find mature people cutting trees continuously, and some of them are being protected by the so-called big people in the government, because they get money from timber. So unless we sit down, and the government should always put these licenses of timber, not just cheaply to be got by anyone. At least they should put them at a higher price such that it cannot be easy to get them. And that's the way they can manage to reduce the depletion of these forests. But otherwise, we still have a long way to go. Because
long way to go it is. Juliet, you've had the MP. He has advised you to bring money to we here at NTV. And we help you do your job. Anyway, let's talk about the funding question and the staffing, because one of the folks from the NFA that we spoke to there raised the question of funding, saying that there's not as much money as you would need as NFA to do your job of monitoring the forests, making sure they are safe. They also talked about staffing. You don't have as many staff members to do their job. How bad is this situation regarding funding and staffing? What do you have? What do you need? Any of you can take it on. Leo, you want to take it on? What's available as of now, and what do you need?
It is true that there is a funding gap. Currently, we are operating at a 28 billion.
That's per annum.
Budget, per annum.
Okay, and how much would you need to very well do your job?
Would be about 60 billion. That is a threefold deficit. And so, but in terms of what is on ground, specifically in Mabira, the other 10 stations I mentioned, there are 10 forest supervisors with a sector manager. And the plan focuses on to manage 1,500 hectares. And so, what remains is the facilitation in terms of mobility. And the other focus would be on the discipline within the personnel that you have. Like the Honorable says, funding is one bit, but to have professional people who are disciplined and who love forests in this country is an issue that all of us have to address.
So the professional people who should be doing this job that you talk about, what are your staffing levels currently, and what would be ideal?
At the moment, we have 334 staffing level, and we are focusing to 356 staffing.
So you
level.
have, come again, you have 334?
331.
31. And you're saying the ideal is 352?
56.
56. So you have a deficit of about
gap.
what? 25?
That is 25, yes.
So are you telling us that if you
now,
had those 25 more
now
added to your numbers, then
that is looking at the structure of the NFA. But remember, the way we manage forests, we manage through partnerships. They are non-contract, rather non-wage staff who are contract patrolmen and also have the law enforcement units. I want to thank Parliament that they approved increased security to the staff, because increasingly because of the climate change, there is a catastrophe in the natural environment which people have to realize that when the environment is hostile, people increasingly become hostile too. And how I wish Parliament would divert all money, all budgets for disaster preparedness to protect the environment. That way, we would be able to see a country which is peaceful and see rich people, but in a stable environment. We cannot develop this country unless we focus on a stable environment where the country is peaceful and the people are rich. You cannot be rich, yet you are in a country which is not stable, in an environment which is not stable. And so, the disaster preparedness, the priority funding should focus on forestry. And how I wish we would have the Ministry of Forestry and Natural Resources. You see, when people don't focus...
As a standalone ministry.
When you don't focus on forestry and natural resources, then you are not focusing on this country being a natural resource-based economy. And so for us in National Forest Authority, I want to indicate that the permanent forestry estate principle is still the basis for seeing our country move. That permanent forest estate is what we are saying. We have the 506 Central Forest Reserves gazetted. The area is still the 1.26 million. But the forest cover is what we have lost. And on forest reserves, we have the loss is 0.7% per year. But on private land, which is outside the mandate of NFA, the loss is 2.27, almost 3 times. And so remember, we need to harmonize and have synergy and manage the natural resources as an ecosystem. Because one thing fits in the other. Forests are the mother to the wetlands, to the rivers, to the lakes. But you find when they are legislating, they want to put more money in water without protecting the catchment, which is forestry. And so increasingly, I am happy that we need to engage with the committees and everyone to ensure that we prioritize areas which are pillars of development in this country. And so what I'm telling viewers is that as National Forest Authority, the permanent forest estate is the 506 hectares, which is managed and gazetted. The other challenge is of coordinating all stakeholders. I want to call upon especially the law enforcement teams, that nobody is above the law. Nobody, even if you are working with NFA, we are stewards of these God-given resources. But let us be exemplary, especially the leaders, the politicians. Let us be exemplary as politicians through cabinet, through parliament, through local governments, and stop the hate for the country. Let us remain nationalistic and know what God gave us as natural resources. So as for NFA, we are committed despite the internal challenges. We are focusing on professionalism and good governance so that we encourage, the natural forests, which comprise 80% of the forest reserves, are public good. They are supposed to be protected. But the funding from government does not focus on protection of the 80% of the natural forests that NFA is managing.
I'm glad you are making a clarion call that we should be able to protect these forests, because the powerful people are the ones who are raiding them. Juliet, you talked about tree planting earlier on, and there was a time when there were several drives, campaigns to get people to plant trees, seedlings were given out. I don't hear of much nowadays. And yet, the first error is that we are cutting down these trees. But error number 2 is that we are actually not replenishing, Yet ideally, when you cut, for whatever reason, because you talked about licenses that you give to those that cut, are we replenishing? Are we replanting as much as should? Are we involving everybody? I'm sure there's folks that would probably want to do this, but they need seedlings, they need a leadership, somebody to lead this whole campaign.
Tree planting, we have got several drives at NFA for tree planting. I call upon actually all stakeholders in Uganda. Ugandans should learn that these forests are theirs. As NFA, we are just managing on behalf of government for Ugandans. We work with, we have a program called Community Tree Planting Program, where we raise on average 10 million seedlings on an annual basis that we distribute to communities, individuals, institutions, individuals, institutions, and communities free of charge. We have over 27 nurseries scattered all over the country. We distribute 10 million seedlings free of charge. We also work with corporate companies. We have a program called corporate tree planting program, where we work with communities to restore degraded forests. This one works especially in natural forests, where there has been depletion. We are going to work with Parliament in March to restore 20 hectares in Mabira. So we've worked with the companies like UBL, we've worked with Standard Chartered Bank to restore part of Navugulu Central Forest Reserve in Impigi. And we call upon even NTV. We have the land that is available, and we have the seedlings. We need to work together and plant the trees. But also as NFA, we also have that component of tree planting, commercial tree planting, where we plant our own commercial to feed the demands of the country in terms of forest produce. But even in natural forests, we have restoration programs. Wherever there is an area that has been identified as an area that has been degraded, in our annual programs, we have a plan to restore the areas. Actually, that's why we confirm at least we've done a lot of restoration in Mavira. Over 1,000 hectares have been restored.
All right, Honorable, we did hear you say that as Parliament, you're taking interest in this matter. You want to see that there gets to be some investigations carried out to find out who is dropping the ball. Can they be held responsible? So when does it start? What form and shape is it going to take?
Yeah, as I told you earlier, that protection of these forests or trees is a choice. There are many people who are mandated to do their work, but not doing it, claiming that there are challenges. So of course, challenges will always be there in everything. But the best way is to find how we can find solutions that are lasting. For example, near State House, there was a very big forest called the Chituburu. It was depleted by very big people in this government, claiming that they gave away the forest to an investor that he can create employment opportunities to Ugandans. We had to ask them questions as Parliament that employment opportunities only happen where trees are being cut. So the choice is in the hands of Ugandans, whether they do protect their forests. The laws are there and they'll always be there, but the implementation part of it will always be a challenge. For us as Parliament, we are suggesting that why is it that instead of having different entities that were created by government, for example, NEMA, NFA, etc., why can't we have one entity such that we can find a way how we can facilitate it in the best way, instead of having many which cannot be easily facilitated? So you people of NFA and NEMA, you can get together and formulate one body. Maybe that can only be the best solution of getting sufficient funding. Then secondly, as Parliament, I know my fellow legislators are watching this program. We have a very big duty. Our obligation is to see that these people are assisted. In terms of funding, we can try to find, there are some big organizations which do fund your activities. For example, if they see you serious on the ground distributing seedlings, there's no way you can ask for funding and refuse. In fact, you can even approach Parliament and see there are some international bodies that can also be interested in assisting you. So you cannot do this work single-handedly. We need to bring in some international bodies which are willing to assist you. Their funding are always ready. In Nakaseke, the district where I come from,
to get funding, to get help. And look, it's okay to get help and so on, but looks like all our hopes are out of this country.
No, they cannot be out. It's out for those who think outside this country. But I said if we can try to find different ways how we can get the funding, the ones which can come faster can be used to implement the policies of NFA. But as I told you earlier, that there are some people who are willing to plant trees, but they are not seeing seedlings. For example, in my district of Nakaseke, I started the campaigning of planting trees, but I'm lacking seedlings.
Have you gone to these people and asked for seedlings?
Yeah, as usual, they have their rhetorics of we don't have enough money to do to buy seedlings, to do what. So it's just a general problem which is affecting. It is not only affecting in Nakaseke, but even there are so many districts which are willing to plant more trees. And as I advised you earlier, we should start the campaign now. When you go back, you put up a budget, you bring your adverts on any TV and start sensitizing the population. Maybe through massive sensitization, the public will get to know the importance of trees. And you should encourage government to reduce the prices of energy, because if the prices of energy is reduced, in the long run, people reduce cutting trees to get charcoal. Because most of these people in towns now prefer using charcoal than using energy in terms of cooking, because energy, the price of energy is so high compared to the prices of charcoal. So we should try to engage government to ensure that at least, as she told us, that this for them they are just protecting these forests on behalf of the population of this Uganda, but they don't own them. So when you sit down as a society and each team plays its role, I think in the nearby future people will start seeing the outcomes of our working together, of our teamwork, and then in the long run we will see the benefits.
Okay, teamwork. All right, let's listen then to our viewers. You can get in touch with us and share your thoughts. We're having a challenge on our hands regarding our forests. You and I are cutting down the trees. We are being the problem, and we are reaping the negative fruits of our cutting down of these forests. So what do you see? What should be done? How can we remedy these issues? The number to call is on your screen. Please remember to lower your volume and we can talk. Hello, good morning. Okay, sorry, we lost them. I'll just repeat. When you call, kindly lessen the volume on your TV set. I know some of you like to hear yourselves when you call, but unfortunately that cannot happen. So please ensure that you do that. Then we shall be able to talk successfully. All right, I'll get back to that in a bit. Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello. 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 Hello, good morning. Okay, we got some feedback there. Unfortunately, we had to cut your line. Please, again, when you call, reduce the volume, and then we are able to talk. I would like to hear some commitment from you good people. I know that we are bashing you so hard. We are saying trees are being cut down. You are doing little or nothing. You say, well, give us more funding and so on.
Hello.
But, okay. Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
What's your name, sir?
I'm called Alex, watching you live at NTV from Hoima.
Yes, Alex.
And I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to inquire as to whether I've heard Madam saying they always distribute seedlings to the people neighboring the forest. When you look at the forests of Ugoma and how it has been depleted, I've not seen at ND the NFA distributing seedlings. Do they give seedlings to Kampala alone, or do they even give to Hoima or other areas like Masindi Budong?
Okay, thank you for that question, Alex. Okay, of course, Alex has a concern like several others. The Honorable just said that he wanted seedlings for Nakaseke and several other places, but the seedlings were not as available. We'll pick a few more and we'll get this answered. Hello?
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is John Paul.
Yes, John Paul.
I'm calling from Soroti.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to say many times campaigns are made on tree planting, but we don't follow up on the issue of irrigating them. Most times institutions receive trees, for example, maybe sub-counties, schools, and other institutions, public places, but they never follow up on the way of watering them. When the dry season comes, they always dry up. Then another year, again, they put a campaign. It's just like a recurring thing that happens every year. But the ones they plant, they never maintain them. That is a problem.
Okay, thank you for raising that, John Paul. That's John Paul in Soroti. So we give out seedlings, those that we do, but at the end of the day, there's no follow-up. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Francis Onen, calling from Lamore.
Yes, Francis.
I want to inquire, they said the regional NFA offices, like for the northern, where is it? Then too, it becomes very difficult for somebody who is in a far place from the regional headquarters to come pick seedlings to go and plant in his place. Why could these people make it a district headquarters for NFA?
Okay, thank you for raising that, Francis. Francis wants your services drawn closer to them, such that it becomes easier for them to help you do your job, but which is good for them too. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello. You're live through Speak to Us. Good morning. Hello. Okay, we lost that person. We will attempt to pick a few more calls as time does allow, and then we'll have answers to these. Hello. Okay, let's pause the phone calls for now. We'll get back to them in a short while, but let's first have answers to these questions. Seedlings to communities. Somebody who is talking about Uganda and several other places, they want seedlings, they don't see them. Are they only in Kampala? Julie?
The seedlings are not only in Kampala, but as an institution, we also have a duty to give an accountability to our funders, which is government. So we have a process that we follow to give the seedlings. You write to NFA if you are interested in tree planting. When you're in Kampala, the areas within Kampala and the surroundings, you write to the executive director in NFA. But we've also centralized this program through our range offices. Like for the one in Bugoma, we have an office in Masindi and Hoima. So you write to the range manager in that region, asking for seedlings, indicating the area where you want to plant, the number of seedlings you want, and the species you want. We don't only give seedlings, we also add on technical advice. We advise you when to plant and where to plant and which species to plant. So those ones in Hoima, the one in Bugoma, Alex, you can contact our range manager in Masindi and Hoima.
Range manager, you say?
Yes.
So the regional offices, Francis was talking about, where are they? He talked about in Gulu.
The northern Uganda, our big range office is in Gulu. For West Nile, it's in Arua.
For specificity to him, he was asking where exactly is the office.
Now, for like he's saying, for the Winyoro region, the Budongo Systems range, we have Masindi Tree Nursery. That is based in Masindi town. And the office is in Masindi town. We also have another nursery in Hoima, near the sector office. That is nearer to Ugoma, and that is also in Hoima town. Then for Francis, in Gulu town, in the municipality, as you enter the municipality to the right, just that the office, when you are there, you are seeing that big Muvule and you are seeing the university behind.
So the Muvule is the office? So I'm not getting
it. You see, it is a Guru Central Forest Reserve. It is a forest reserve where we still have the Muvule. But people think trees.
So are your offices there?
They are there. The regional, very beautiful, powerful regional offices. Then we have others in the central region. We have the National Tree Seed Center in Jinja, Tusabu Busoga, in Soroti, in Nakaseke, like the owner was saying. By the way, we piloted the carbon, the biomass project is in Nakaseke. But what we need
but I'm not seeing it there.
You see, piloting, that is where we need to go on ground and work together.
So you're not on ground yet?
But at least, what I can tell you, in Nakaseke, in the rural areas, these cultural corridor areas, National Forest Authority is piloting a carbon project.
So, Honorable, why aren't you leaders getting involved in government programs?
No, we do try, but there are many challenges. First of all, some of these programs are just invisible. You just read them on paper, like he's talking about the pilot project they are brought to Nakaseke, but you can't see them. So we wanted, as I told him earlier, that I told them earlier that there are so many districts which want to plant trees. There shouldn't even be some limitations, like for example, specifying the species which should be planted. If I just come and even coming to see where I'm going to plant them, this should have been taken a very serious national matter, whereby trees are given free of charge from anywhere. In fact, you should be just making adverts or on maybe any TV that you people are interested in planting trees, since you have seen the effects of the drought today, of the massive cutting of forests. Anyone can pick the seedlings from such ABCD areas, instead of trying to put up some limitations that you should do ABC. You put up such kind of processes which are hard to fulfill by the ordinary citizens. These ordinary citizens from the villages of Nakaseke, Kokogwanga, Olokasa Ngombe, what they need is just to see that the seedlings are there. Let's pick them. You write their addresses, their names, and then you go and see whether really they are doing what? They are planting them, instead of putting up some processes which are
want
not
to
easy.
clarify, like you realize one of the callers is talking about the survival rate. You plant, they die. There is a drought. We have mapped the whole country into what we call the zones for tree planting. Different regions behave differently towards trees. And so, for example, in Nakaseke, in your area, we have Katugo, the biggest nursery in Katugo, at our station. And so, what we are talking are the real facts on ground. So what we are talking about is that in the community tree planting program, we have designed it in a way that the monitoring is done by the district forestry office. The natural resources officers
the districts
are the ones who clearly recommend that these areas are for planting. And remember, we also focus on the objective of planting. When you are planting for commercial and when you are planting for conservation, people need to appreciate that the site, you don't plant, for example, in a wetland. You know, people have been crying about the eucalyptus planted in wetlands. You get the point? So different sites have different species. And you see how people go condemning Karitusi. People should know Karitusi is a very good tree for economic prosperity. But where you plant it is what you need to understand.
Okay, let's get back to the phone calls. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello. We got some feedback from that phone call. Please, when you call again, reduce the volume on your TV set so that you don't get feedback. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name, sir?
Hello.
I hear you loud and clear. What's your name, Chief?
Hello, this is Dennis Odong from Abim District.
Yes, Dennis.
Hello?
Dennis, I hear you loud and clear. Carry on with your question or
this is
comment.
Dennis Odong from Abim District, Karamoja Sub-Region.
Yes, Dennis, go right ahead.
I want to appreciate the officers in the studio.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
If any area for these people to concentrate in Uganda is there, should have been Karamoja.
Why do you say that? Okay, we seem to have lost Dennis there. He says people need to go to Karamoja. It's largely dry and there's a lot of help needed there. Let's just speak to this other person, then I'll get back. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello?
Good morning.
Morning to you.
What's your name, sir?
I'm called James Omara.
Yes, James.
Am I talking to NTV?
Yes, you are.
I wanted to, I'm calling from Mediana.
James, go right ahead.
One of the MP from Mediana is called Kalwanga, who organized the public to cut over very many trees. What do we do to such MP?
Which MP again? Let's be sure we get your allegation.
Kalwanga organized the population and cut over the trees.
An MP called Luanga, you said?
Kalwanga.
Kalwanga. Which MP is that? Do you know him?
I know him. But there's no way an MP can organize people to cut forests.
Well, many people are cutting down forests, so if it's happening, we'll have it addressed. But let me just finish with the phone calls and then
Hello.
we'll get back. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, boss.
What's your name, sir?
You are talking to Joel Okrod from Soroti.
Joel from Soroti. Joel, you have a nice name.
Yes, but now...
Anyway, go ahead.
The problem with us in Soroti here, more especially in this region, let me talk in generally.
These leaders of ours, they tend to bring those seedlings. Maybe our leaders there on the studio, in the studio, they are saying that they always time the rainy season, but for sure in Teso land, these are the people who bring seedlings during dry season, and you also have that feeling of planting seedlings, but you find that you have a challenge of watering them. So that's the big problem with us here at Teso here, but we have that feeling of planting the seedlings. Okay, thank you. That is it.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Let's pick one final phone call and we wrap it up. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. Your line has gone through. Speak to us. Good morning. Okay, we'll drop that and pick somebody else. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, MTV.
Good morning. What's your name?
My name's Karayo Grace.
Grace, it's nice to hear from you, lady.
Pan-African Movement and Pan-African Women Organization. I want to thank you.
Hello? Oh, it's such a pity. We lost her. This was the only lady. Hopefully we can hear from another lady. Let's attempt and see. Hello? Good morning. Hello?
Good morning, NTV.
Good morning. What's your name?
I'm called Rubaldo.
Rubaldo?
Yes, please.
Yes, Rubaldo. Share your thoughts with us.
I need to talk to the NFA guys there. They need to pay those patrol men. I've been to Itwara Central Reserve Forest. I've been to Marira. I've been to Bugoma. I've been to Budongo. People are crying they have not been paid for 3 years, at least for the Itwara and the Matiri Central Forest Reserve. People who patrol those forests have not been paid. They cannot do their job. They have to connive with those guys who are doing the cutting down of the trees. Then you must also go and sensitize the people. People are in the forest, they are cultivating their marijuana, cultivating maize, cultivating beans, and all sorts of things, because I've been people there, me, I'm a scientist. I pay you guys, I don't find my things in the forest because the trees have been cut down.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Rubaldo. All right, that will do for the phone calls. Let's quickly respond to these issues. Your employees have not been paid, and so they are demotivated, at least according to Rubaldo, and that means they can connive with these guys that do it illegally and they get a cut. Why haven't people been paid? Assuming this allegation is true, is it true for starters? Are there some people for whom salaries or facilitation has delayed?
Like I told you, the contract staff for forest protection had not been paid for some time.
Why?
Because of some of the historical challenges in NFA.
Which historical challenges are those?
Increasingly, I want people to understand that we have aged the payment of these patrolmen systematically, and they are now at 1 year not paid.
They've not been paid for 1 year?
Yes.
For heaven's sake.
And
why are people working and for 1 year they have not been paid? That's evil.
The system, there is what we call the ETF, the Electronic Funds Transfer System of Paying. And even when NFA has completed the contract documentation through the finance to Bank of Uganda, there are delays here and there. So
delays for an entire year? I don't get it. It's preposterous.
So the point I want to clarify is that NFA is committed to clearing these obligations. And over the years, we have aged this up to at least 1 year. And like you have noted...
So 1 year is actually improvement. It was worse off previously.
Yes, there is a greater improvement. Because we are
and the improvement is 1 year of non-payment.
Funds payment system. Government systems are not like the way we manage our homes. You have to follow the systems. But like the MP indicated, that is where we need not to keep lamenting. And as NFA, we will work out to see the gaps and then lobby for the filling of the gaps.
Honorable Tamaguzi, how come Parliament has not taken concern of this issue? Because if people have been working for over a year and they have not been paid, I find that ridiculous and unacceptable.
Well, Parliament cannot go on looking to the payments of every sector.
These
people are supposed to come and present their cases before Parliament. There's no way every committee should go on visiting who has been paid, who's going to be paid on what, when. So it is these people to come before Parliament and present their grievances. If you don't have funding, try to come and see. Because we can even get for you supplementary, more so if we see that it is very necessary for you to get money. And I wanted also some clarification on the species of trees that are given out. There are some people who cut natural forests in favor of artificial forests. Then they start encouraging people to grow pines. You know pines. Pines are very dangerous. They are very dangerous trees, but you find people growing them anyway because you tell them that when you plant pines, you get quick returns, and people start cutting the natural trees we've been having, and at the same time, in a shorter period of time, they'll be experiencing some big problems. So,
okay, we need to quickly wrap it up. Juliet, what are your plans for Karamoja? Some folks in Karamoja are concerned.
Yes. As NFA, Karamoja is one of the areas that we have prioritized. It's one of the areas that we recently created a range office based in Moroto to bring services nearer to the people of Karamoja. As I speak now, we established a community tree nursery in Kabong. We are in talks with the district of Abim. We are yet to sign an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with Abim, to also establish a community tree nursery so that we enable the people to plant the trees and get the seedlings nearer to their areas.
Okay, and let's wrap it up. Somebody talked about seedlings that are taken during the dry season. You see, many times it is the little finer details which, when not taken care of, they spoil the entire thing.
Yeah, you are right. We have talked about that forestry activities are season-based. Like the Bible says, there is a time for everything. You cannot do things out of season. And so it is an issue that we need to handle. Then the need for the funding of the gap. Government increasingly must realize that protection of the natural forests as a public good must be funded to support NFA. And I'm happy to hear from the legislator that we need to come back and be able to work together. For the rest of the public, I want to appreciate that everybody has a role. And let us do it with respect, well knowing that if we don't do it very carefully, God will judge us harshly, because these natural resources are God-given. We are supposed to be stewards.
Clearly, we have been put on notice. God will deal with us, at least if NFA and government delays to go for those who are cutting down these trees illegally. We pray and hope God comes down quickly and soon. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, the Honorable Semakula Lutamaguzi, MP Nakaseke. Thank you, Leo Tunamasko from NFA, and Juliet Mobi from National Forestry Authority as well. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
That's it for the big story and for today's edition of Morning at NTV. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joel Senyonyi.